Got my boys, two of the three boys. One of them announced he's having a baby, a little baby girl. But I got my boys from the Dive Bar podcast. Got Ghost of Madam Gast and my boy Bobby. What is up, my dudes? How are you doing?
Fantastic. Thanks for having us. I love a little DouglieDoWrong dive bar link up. It's been going on since the beginning, so happy to be here. Thanks for having us on again, man.
Yeah, Ghost took the words right out of my mouth. It's always a good time when we're hanging out with Dougley. Whether it's at the dive bar or here, it's same vibe.
You're gonna hear me say this a lot, but you guys got to go subscribe to the Dive Bar podcast. You know, they not only, so a lot of people like to be like, oh, you got so-and-so, you got so-and-so. That's nice, right? You got Tyreek Hill, Teron Armstead. I was there for that. Thank you guys so much for that. You got Xavier Howard, you got Raheem Mostert. Like, the list is, but you guys also do really good content without having Dolphin players on, and people really need to see that and realize that. Like, your draft stuff was really good, your schedule release was really good. What else do you guys got going on over at that channel?
That's a Bobby question, baby. He is the godfather of the Dolphins dive bar podcast. So I'm gonna defer to Bobby. Whatever he doesn't hit, I'll pick up the slack.
I mean, like you said, what made it tough was we started out the gate strictly players, and like we never imagined it would be quite the run it was. The original concept was more of like what we're introducing now, so we kind of did it backwards. We didn't know like we'd get one player and then get 27 straight and sprinkle Dougley in there twice. Like we didn't. Like we could have never. Like, I'm not gonna sit here and act like we planned it. Like we didn't. So like now you're kind of seeing what was originally the plan coming back into the fold, and like it's just, you know, a few guys get off work, pull up a chair, have an adult beverage, if you will, and talk Dolphins. Just we all got a little different perspective. I guess Joe's the over the top hopium, and I'm like positive, but I'll hear you out. Then, you know, Ghost and Eric, they fight over who is the most negative. That doesn't matter to me. Ghost is on the screen more, so I guess he could take that title. So it's a good contrast. Like, you know, you need every part to kind of keep everybody balanced and reeled in. And then, that's kind of where we're headed to. Hopefully this season we're trying to expand a little bit, like what you said, just growing, having more to offer, and putting more content out there for the guys.
Yeah, you guys, you know, it's awesome, and you guys mesh so well together. It's not like, you know, you have two of the same people. It's you guys. It's a nice yin and yang between the four of you, sometimes three of you. But let's talk Miami Dolphins football. Let's get your opinions on some things. So obviously, the schedule came out last week. What's your thoughts? Initial first time seeing it. What was your thoughts, Ghost?
I kind of do this every year where I break down the schedule into halves or quarters or thirds. I think this year it's before the bye week and after the bye week.
Yeah.
And I know it seems kind of simple, but before that bye week, man, like if health is, you know, in our pocket, which rarely ever is, could make a serious run for 8 wins before that bye week. Pick up another 2, you're in the playoffs post bye week, and I think that that's the easiest path to the playoffs, hopefully to the division. You know, what I keep thinking about this year is, you know, we kind of got free passes since 2020, and I mean for the most part, even before that too, but since 2020 we've had free passes against the Patriots and the Jets. I still think the Jets are kind of the free pass, but man, the Patriots, you might be splitting with the Patriots this year. The Bills, you want to split with them at worst, you know. But it's like I said, I'm going to break it into halves, and if you get 8 wins going into that bye week, you're setting yourself up, because it's a tough schedule after that bye week. You got the Bengals, you got the Steelers, you got the Ravens, right? Ravens are after the bye week, I think.
No, just before. Ravens, Bills, Washington, right before the bye.
Right before the bye week. Yeah,
and I mean, even that grid, and they get the bye week.
Yeah.
Even that Bucs team is going to be tough too. But if you can rack up at least 8 wins in that first half, when I say first half, the first 12 weeks there before the bye week, you're going to set yourself up nice. You know, and Miami needs to build those wins early on, September, October, November, because those away games are going to build up, and it's going to be some cold games.
Bobby?
Yeah, so a good reference I like to use is, it reminds me a lot of the 2023 year, where if we get out the gate clean, like Ghost just said, we're good. Like, but you got to capitalize on that. You have to come out, like he said, 8 wins in your first 12, because you come back from that bye and like it's up. So like we're going into cold weather. Where are the injuries? Who's our quarterback? hate to say that, but these are real conversations. And you know, you want to be sitting as close as you can to that threshold. So hey, if you got to squeeze out 1 or 2 in these bad elements or unfavorable elements or whatever, you can. And it reminds me a lot of 2023. And we came out the gate hot. We really got out there quick. Things kind of fell apart, but we were so far ahead that we kind of could handle it.
Didn't we get in 2023? Didn't we get to like 10-3 and then like fell apart at the end?
We did. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I think we went into that. I think we went into the Titans game with 10 wins in 2023.
Yeah. That Titan game, everything fell apart. Injuries and just luck and
pride
fell apart. Were you guys at that game?
I was at the game, dude.
Oh,
we all left. We left early. We watched it in the parking lot. We watched it on our phones.
Yeah. I blame them leaving the game early. Come on.
Me, Joe, Robbie, and Eric were like, "Yo, let's go beat the traffic. There's 3 minutes left." Like, and we're like, "Yeah, sure." Like, we're walking back to the parking lot, and DeAndre Hopkins scores that touchdown. We're watching on the phone. I'm like, "All right, like maybe that's okay. It's fine." And dude, we're just sitting in silence watching it on our phone in Joe Robbie's truck. And when Tua, trips on 4th down and the game's over, it was just silence in the truck ride for like an hour and a half, sitting in traffic, getting back home. And the funniest part was Joe Robbie's wife was in the passenger seat, and she's like with 4 dudes who are just got their hearts smashed out of their bodies, left the game early. And she's like, "Why don't I just put on some music?" And Joe Robbie's super respectful to his wife. And he goes, "Babe," he goes, "just this one time." Like, we're just going to sit in silence. It's the funniest thing. I'll never forget it. But yeah, man, that was brutal.
Oh, man. Yeah, hopefully we don't have someone. Thank God we don't play the Titans, but we, in a way, play the Titans because we're going to have to play Vrabel twice, which, Ghost, you definitely touched upon. Normally, Tua is healthy. Tua is playing. We're sweeping the Jets and the Patriots. They have not been able to beat him. But now with Vrabel, Tua has not been able to beat Vrabel. So now all of a sudden it's the whole catch-22. Look at the draft, right? I didn't get a chance to talk to you guys. I know it's May, going to be June, and draft was like almost a month away. What is your thoughts on the draft? Like, what is like one of your favorite picks that the Dolphins made?
I'll just go with the overall theme. I think we've all sit on these podcasts and cried for years about the trenches, and it's so cliche, but like, dude, they added over 1,200 pounds easily to the front line, both sides. So it's like, for me, while it wasn't like a ton of early picks and a bunch of starters, we probably got 2 bona fide starters, but really needed. For me, it was just like, it's hard to complain because they took where we thought they haven't taken seriously for years, very serious. They even doubled down, tripled down at defensive tackle. Man, I was happy with the draft. I really like Dante Trader late. I think he's just a versatile, smart guy. I think he'll end up being better than most think just because he'll be ready faster than most. So that'd probably be my sleeper late.
Yeah, I was going to forego the first 3 rounds, and then I was going to go into the Dante Trader. Our safety room, I always kind of say, Javon Holland is talented. He's a talented player. Things just sometimes don't work out the way you want to in a certain area. Look at like Micah Fitzpatrick, not putting him on his level, but it's just like some things just don't jive. So I think at worst, especially with Poyer leaving, that was kind of like a big balance. So like you had a good player and you had a player who wasn't so good. And now they have 2 players that are kind of right in the middle. So I think at worst, the safety room is at baseline. And I think it needed another player to push that room. And I mean, he's good. Like if you watch his tape, he's good. He's got huge range. Okay. You can really use him at free safety. But I like him because the secondary this year still looking thin, and we were looking for some sort of pick, and it was kind of tough to pick a secondary. Obviously, we saw the Will Johnson slide, but it was good to see some secondary help there.
Were you guys upset that they took Jonah versus taking a Trey Amos or taking like a Will Johnson? Or are you happy with the Jonah pick?
No, I think you had to take offensive line there. If you
Bro,
didn't take offensive line there,
Patriots would
I
have
don't know,
got
man.
Will Campbell and then took Jonah, like the reports say, but I would have had a meltdown.
Were you upset that they traded up to do it? Do you think he would have been there at 48?
Well, they said the Patriots were contemplating taking him at 38, so I don't think he would have been there. And I at first it was kind of like it hit me hard because I was looking at what we gave up, and now we're having to wait another 100 picks.
Yeah.
And that's tough, and it was tough to sit there and watch all those picks go by. But like I say all the time, we always say this: if you have a conviction about a guy, I respect that. Go get your guy. So many years, like, look, Austin Jackson ended up being pretty good, but they could have went up and got worse. It's those kind of things that we have not done correctly. We went up and got Liam. We should have got Creed Humphrey. But look, they went up, they got their guy. They probably could have traded down, but they stayed at 13 and got Grant. So, I mean, it seems like they had some conviction in guys, and they took them and they went all in on those guys. And I respect that.
What do you think, Ghost?
Yeah, I mean, like Bobby said, it's kind of tough to watch 100 picks go by without picking, but you like your guy, you go get him. And at the end of the day, I mean, they netted positive on both trade calculators.
Yeah,
even if it was just slightly positive. So, we do have a nice treasure chest, building a little bit of a treasure chest for next year, especially if you add some comp picks to that. I think the Holland comp pick possibility was floating around in there somewhere. But yeah, I mean, you got to go get your guy, and I think they have a long-term starter, at least for 5 years. They're keeping this guy. Hopefully, maybe if Greer's here or not here, whatever, hopefully we find some retention in these draft picks finally.
Yeah, because everyone's going to be looking at Tate Ratledge and saying you could have stayed at 48, took Tate, or move up for Jonah. You all saw the short of me. I wanted Jonah. I wanted Jonah from jump. And then when they traded up, I was like, because how many times as Dolphin fans, if the Dolphins done something and then you're like, oh, is this what we want? Prime example, Deion Jordan, right? They traded up in front of the Eagles. I'm thinking we got Lane Johnson.
Yeah.
They did it. Deion Jordan, and you're just sitting there like, what the heck? So when they traded up in the second, I'm like, I get it. Maybe Will Johnson, maybe Trey Amos. I get it, but I want Jonah so. And then when they said Jonah, I was like, all right, maybe they're actually listening. But Coach, you made a very good point, right? Next year's draft, right now we have 2 3s, possibly 2 4s, because from what we're hearing, Jalen Ramsey is getting a ton of interest from a ton of teams.
Yep.
What is your guys' thoughts on the whole Ramsey situation? Where do you think he can go, and what do you think the Dolphins can get? I'll start with you, Ghost.
I think you're going to look at the contenders. You get a team that's rebuilding, isn't going to shell out something like that for a contract. But you look at the teams like the Eagles, who lost James Bradbury. They lost him last year. Right. I think he's still a free agent. So you're going to look at teams like that, possibly reunion with the Rams. I know that there was some interest there. Could be a sleeper team like the Buccaneers, like looking to take that next step, trying to fill out their roster, trying to, be the contender they think they could be, because, the Bucs in a, not a super tough division. They can make some waves. They made some waves last year. Baker played lights out, and you have teams like that are thinking like, hey, we're just on the edge, kind of just like how Miami was in 2023, 2024. Hey, let's just add a couple of these extra pieces, these veteran guys, and see if they can contribute. So you got to look at teams like that, not just the super contenders, but those teams that are looking to just fill those gaps.
Bobby?
Yeah, I always go back to it's hard when a guy like Jalen Ramsey, I had a hard time imagining him going somewhere where he's going to waste his time.
Yeah.
But ideally everybody wants to go to a contender, but I feel like Ramsey is specifically going to go somewhere where he feels like he's not wasting his time. Hell, that's why he's leaving here. He felt like he wasted his time.
Exactly.
So, I mean, you're not going to be like, I'm wasting my time. Get me out of here. I don't care if you give me $25 million, send me to the Raiders. Like, I don't feel like that makes a ton of sense. And the Raiders are a name that are been linked to him a lot, but man, I just feel like Ghost said, it's going to probably be your contender, someone who truly needs him and can get something from it. It doesn't make sense to spend $25 million just to say, hey, we got Jalen Ramsey over here. Yeah, you won 6 games. I mean, we did that. So my thing is, and how he got here too. He wanted to be in Miami. He got to Miami. And at that time, that was considered robbery, a 3rd round pick and Hunter Long. So I have a hard time thinking we're going to get anything close to that. But I do love hearing that there's a lot of interest, and there's more interest than most people would think. Because at one point it seemed like he's just going to be a Ram. That just kind of seems like what we're doing here. But we're definitely waiting until June 1st. We've always been waiting until June 1st. I think a lot of people couldn't accept that, but if you wasn't going to trade him in the draft, there's no point to trade him before June 1st at all.
Yeah,
and you went over those numbers a million times. Like it just, there's like, I remember like 10 minutes after he requested a trade, you had those numbers out. Like that's why I didn't understand. Everybody's like, what today? What today? It's like, no, let's talk June 1st. Like we all know this. Come on. Like, so he's not getting traded before June 1st. And like Ghost said, I believe you're looking at a contender. I mean, top 10 team at least.
The one surprising team I'm hearing, because this came out before the draft, Armando Salguero came out and he raffled off a few names. And then recently it came out, people saying it could happen before June 1st. It just might not go through till June 1st, like the designation.
Right.
The Falcons, because the Falcons head coach was his DC in LA.
LA,
I think he lives near Atlanta, the Atlanta area. So it'd be close for him. But, you know, I would take a fourth, you know, if there's some type of, you know, auction for him or people are bidding for him, I take a fourth. You know, then you go into 2026 draft, 2 3s, 2 4s. All of a sudden, you know, you're in a good situation. If the Dolphins play mid, which we'll get to in a second, and they're sitting at like 15, 16, but they want one of those good quarterbacks coming out, you can package those up and you can move up and get your guy. But speaking of that, what is your expectations of this team going into 2025? Now it's early, and I don't do record predictions until the day before the opening day, because you got OTAs, mini camp, training camp, trades could happen. You got June 1st cuts, injuries could happen, a lot could happen. But just like a sense of your feeling for the team going into, you know, now the offseason programs. Bobby, what's your thought of, you know, what's your expectation and your feeling for this team going into 2025?
Yeah, I'd say that. Do I feel better today than I did 2 months ago or before the draft? Yes. Do I still think there are major glaring holes that are going to cost us? Yes. I think one thing that I do go back to, though, is I think we all forget, and understandably, we got a bad taste in our mouth last year. But I think if the wheels don't fall off and Tua plays, you're looking at 11 wins. And if we do that, and even losing the first round of the playoffs, we're all sitting here like, what? We did that and added Kenneth Grant and Jonas Avenea? Like, we're like, you got to remember, like, things really did fall apart. And understandably, like, that's a bad taste in your mouth. I understand that. And that could all happen again. That's the kind of situation we're in. But I think we're still looking at a 10-win team. I don't know that we're like, the problem is I don't think we're competing for a championship. I don't know if we're even winning a playoff game right now. And there's still some time, but I like the team. I do love the direction, or it seems to be an effort at a shift of the culture and the type of players they're going after. I do appreciate that much. But I don't think we're probably similar to the same team, honestly, just a bubble playoff team. If we sneak in, let's hope we don't draw at the Bills first round. You know, that's kind of where I feel.
Ghost, let me add a little to your question. So what is your expectation of this team, or your thoughts of this team? And does it change now that the expectation from everyone is so much lower? Because coming off of 2023, everyone going into 2024 had high expectations. Oh, they're going to compete with the Bills. They're going to do this. And we fell flat on our face, because that's what the Miami Dolphins do, you know, 2008 to 2009, 2016, 2017. Do you think now that the whole NFL and the media and everyone's like, oh, the Dolphins are going to win 7 wins if they're lucky, do you think that will give us a better chance, or mentally, at doing better?
I think it's kind of like Bobby said. I mean, I don't think the team got significantly better. I don't think the team got significantly worse. One thing that I think is the same, though, like if you go apples to apples, I think our depth is, I think it's the same kind of depth that you had last year and the year before, even going into this year. It's like, it's still this top heavy team. Dude, 1 to 2 injuries throws off this entire roster. And I mean, I hate when people say like, well, you can say that about any other team. I'm like, I haven't seen it. Dude, how many times do you watch a primetime game? Left tackle goes out, guard goes out, and nobody mentions it for the rest of the game. Like, it's almost like an afterthought. Nobody even realizes what happened. But like Connor Williams goes out in the Titans game in 2023, the entire team falls apart.
Yep.
So it's like, I don't think it's so much more or less like the team is better or worse. I think they added some guys, they lost some guys, but I think what everyone should be looking at is that depth pool. It hasn't changed, and I don't think it's going to change too much towards it. The start of the season. I think Dalton Reisner is still out there. You could grab Dalton Reisner. You could bring in a guy like that.
Yeah.
Sheriff is out there. You could bring in these guys, and I don't know if it's going to make a big difference, but that's kind of where I'm at. So I think the official over-under came out 8.5. It's like it's still a 9-10 win team if you're healthy. You got to steal a game at Buffalo, or when Buffalo comes to Miami, you have to do these things. And if they don't win a playoff game, and God forbid they don't make the playoffs this year, like I don't even know what you do. Like, what do you call this team then?
Yeah, I feel you. Like when I look at the roster now that we did the draft and we did free agency and everything, I agree with you 1,000%. I think the only area of this team that I feel good about the depth is the middle linebackers, because I like the addition of like Willie Gay. But outside of that, maybe quarterback. I want to see, and we'll talk about that. I want to see what these guys can do, and maybe receiver. But the important parts essentially is what Ghost is saying. There's no depth, and that's the biggest problem, and it's the trenches. We added some good guys, but we're still thin on defensive line. I still am very apprehensive about the defensive line because they're still thin. And you got Sealer, and you got now Grant, and then you got Phillips. And what else you got? And Grant and Phillips are mostly your interior guys.
You have every game you have 5 defensive linemen, 5 interior defensive linemen that rotate. Three of them are going to be rookies.
Yep.
And I think you kind of hinted to this, Dougley. So that's exactly how I feel. I feel like you're missing the guy that's going to take Ogba and Calais' snaps. That 3 to 5 tech. That's a run stuffer. Obviously, it was awesome that Calais could. I don't know how the guy's doing what he's doing.
Right?
It was awesome that he threw in 6 sacks to go with it. But like, we need, and maybe they think Quentin Bell can do some of that. Maybe Mohamed Kamara is going to play that role. I mean, he could fit that for sure. But that's what I'm looking at right now. They have not replaced, and they just let Ogba leave any of those snaps for that 3 to 5 tech that's good at setting the edge. That's my biggest hole right now. And I'd love to get excited about the edge room, but there's a reason why we keep holding our breath on the edge room as well, because we don't know who's going to be there and how long. Like, that edge room is awesome. It's really awesome.
It's good.
And
if everything is perfect.
There's still guys out there. Judon is still out there. Yannick Ngakoue, for some reason, is still out there. So, they got the money. And then if they make the trade with Jalen Ramsey, they'll have even more money. They'll be around $20 million in cap space. They can do what they need to do, but I'm pretty sure the 3 of us can wholeheartedly agree. Go get 2 corners. Like,
yeah.
Supposedly they talked to Rasul Douglas and they couldn't come to an agreement, but he hasn't come to an agreement with anyone. So maybe his price is here, everyone else's price is here, and maybe it will come back to that and he'll actually become a Dolphin. But last question I want to ask you guys, obviously, the big pictures. Tua Tagovailoa stayed healthy 1 year in 2023, but when he stayed healthy, he led the league in passing and was top 10 quarterback. What's your thoughts on Tua going into this year? Is this his last year with the Dolphins? And like, can you see him finally putting it together? Start with Bobby.
Jeez, you're gonna start with me now?
Wicked smart.
You're gonna start with me? No, I mean, look, I like Tua, man. The concerns are the concerns. Look, he hasn't been able to get over the hump, win big games in big situations. The injuries are the injuries that we don't even have to talk about that. Everybody's aware of it. I like Tua. I think that unfortunately it's not just a Tua thing. It's a lot of wagons are hitched together with the success of this season, and you can't bring in a new head coach or anybody and think you're going to stuff a quarterback in their face again. So I think if things do not go well, this team doesn't win a playoff game, or bottom line, at least make the playoffs. I think you could see Tua heading out of the building just because you can't keep trying this. At least I hope not. They would say that they can, but you can't keep trying the same things over and over again, expecting different results. So I expect a major shuffle, and somebody's got to go. And, people that make $55 million tend to be looked at pretty strictly when things fall apart.
What's your thoughts, Ghost?
It's like I said before, team has to win a playoff game. I mean, if they don't make playoffs, I would almost guarantee that there's going to be a serious change, whether that's all three of them are gone, Greer steps down and takes that supervisor role or that commissionary role, whatever you want to call it. But if they make playoffs and they play a good game, you lose the game by 3. It's like, I think you make another case to run it back again, with your draft picks and all that. But like Bobby said, I think if there's an injury that keeps him out 4 games, 5 games, especially key games or towards the end of the season, it's like you have to really look at that and be like, is this going to change? I don't think I think it was since high school. I don't think Tua's ever played in back-to-back full seasons as a college football player or an NFL football player. He hasn't put together 2 complete seasons since college, and I don't think he did in college. I think it even goes back to high school. So I mean, you took that risk when you drafted him, and at what point do you kind of have that stop loss where you're like, we took the risk, like we tried it. Some things don't work out, but then you look at other franchises. Look at Dak Prescott. I think him and Tua are very, very parallel players, very, very parallel careers, parallel fan base, arguments and different perspectives. And that's Jerry Jones' guy. You know what I mean? And he's never going to leave that building until his contract expires. So I think it's going to be tough. If they make the playoffs, it's going to be tough to get rid of everybody. I think if they don't make the playoffs, I think it's much less to do with Tua's talent, his inability to stay, healthy than it is like we tried this. This is year 6 of the build. We can't go into year 7 with the same plan.
Yeah, I agree with you 1,000%. If you want to hear more of this, go subscribe to the Die Bar podcast. Go help out my guys. I've known these guys forever. I remember the first time I saw Ghost was at the MetLife takeover.
Yeah.
You were like, you know who I am? I'm like, no, because I've never seen your face. And I was like, oh, because me and Ghost interacted on Twitter forever. Same thing with Bobby. And when I first saw him, it was hilarious. That was like what, 3-4 years ago. So
that was a while back.
It was a long time ago.
That was before even the Skylar Thompson game. That was the game before that.
Tua played that game. That's when he threw that bomb to
Matt Collins.
Collins, which everyone was like, he had to stop to catch it. Who cares? It was a touchdown.
He did have to do a 360.
Oh, he definitely
had to stop. But it's still a touchdown. It's fine. It doesn't matter.
But go check them out. Go subscribe. You guys got any plans? Anything going on the channels? Everyone know?
Man, we gotta. It's really tough when you get into this point. So we're looking for. We're waiting for our sweet spot, and our sweet spot is like right after the camp, right after everyone's getting ready, and it's that period between the preseason games and camp. That we love that spot. Like we had a lot of guys lined up, but just scheduling, and they, most of them reported to the facility recently. So it's always like right there for us, and then things happen last second. We're like, all right, we're doing this. Like sometimes it'd be 1:00 in the afternoon. Bobby sends a text. He's like, we got to get ready. We're getting so-and-so tonight. And that's just how it is, man. That's like, we do have like scheduled, but it's until they say, hey, here's my number. Text me.
I would compare our process, and I know Dougley will appreciate this. You know how they make South Park?
I knew you were going to say that, dude.
That's exactly how, dude. It's down to the wire. Yeah. Are we going to pull this off? Do we have anyone? And then, it's like Armstead replies to you. You're like, what? And of course, you reply 6 months later when I got to go offshore. So I got to call Dougley. It's like South Park, man. We do an episode like tomorrow night. We have John Miller, who is an 8-year NFL vet. We're going to talk some O-line life. He's now a big real estate agent in South Florida. But dude, that episode of In, and we'll go to sleep like we did it. We'll wake up tomorrow or Wednesday and be like, so 6 days. What's going on? And dude, I swear, one time we booked people for 3 or 4 weeks straight, and it all fell apart. None of it happened. None of it.
That's the worst.
Yeah, it was tough. It was tough because we were really hyped for it. We had we won't say their names now because we kind of want to keep it a surprise, but we had 2 guys that went in the first 2 rounds, had a undrafted free agent, and it's like we were right in that time where we ended the Mostert run with Teron Armstead, Cater Kohu. So we had to get those guys in, and then like right after that was just like, dealing with the agents and whatnot. Like, hey, you should probably lay off the podcast till you get drafted, and then after that, they're reporting to the facility. In the weeks leading up to the draft, they're traveling, for their top 30 visits or top 100 visits, whatever they're called. So yeah, it was tough, but we're excited. We'll pull through.
That's the hardest part too, because like you see these guys are drafted, and then you're able to message them. So you're like, hey, if you get 10, 15, I'd love to chat with you.
Yeah.
But for a fact, they're like, I don't know if I'm allowed to talk to anybody right
Exactly.
now. So.
That's a big thing too. Is I think I messaged like Hayden Rucci last year, and I was like, hey man, got this podcast, had Tyreek on. You got to flex, you got to name drop just a little bit,
of course.
And he's like, hey man, I'm just worried about making the team. He's like, listen, I really, and these guys are really nice. They're like, I really appreciate the offer. He's like, but I think I'm just gonna focus on making the team. But I definitely will do something with you, once things settle out. I'm like, totally respectable, man.
Yeah, I remember Zeke Vandenberg.
Yeah.
He hit me back and he was like, dude, I want to. I'd love to. He's like, dude, I haven't played a snap. It's my second year. He's like, I need to try to make the team, and he didn't make the team. But dude, I thought it was super cool. Like, just that's all you care about is a reply. Like, hey, I'm busy right now. Circle back in June.
Exactly.
I need to kind of focus on making the team. I feel like it's kind of conceited to go on a podcast right now. It's just not really my lane. And I'm like, all right, maybe respect that.
It's funny too, because like from an outside perspective, like craziness. And once you guys go live, you're like, with your drinks, you're like, what's up, everybody?
Because earlier you were like, man.
I've been backstage with you guys where you're like, Doug, tweet this out. And I'm like, we need to do this. And then all of a sudden it's like, what's up, Teron? How's everything going?
Dude, it was funny with Teron too, because I was offshore, but I was still texting them. And I was like, is he in there? Like, it's like, nah. And then he messaged me and was like, hey, email me the link. And I was blowing them up like, he wants it emailed. And finally, Ghost replies to me. It's like 2 minutes after y'all are supposed to go live. He goes, dude, he's here. We're chilling, bro. I was like, oh, so he just clicked the link and came in anyway? Why did he just do that to begin with?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, freaking me out there in the middle of the freaking ocean. I was like, does my service work? Is my phone working? Yeah. Come on, Elon.
You start swimming.
Douglie, fix this.
Yeah.
But it's funny though, you said that we all meshed so well together, but it's like, man, there's text messages and like we're trying to kill each other during the week. And then like honestly, that's the hardest part of being a podcaster is like everything before you hit live. When you hit live, it's like, dude, that hour kicking it with the boys, hanging out with Douglie. Dude, it's awesome.
It's the best. But go check them out. Go subscribe. Thank you guys for coming, hanging out. Hopefully people get to hear you guys, hear your perspectives, because it was good. We agree. We get along, the three of us. That's why I'm going to constantly have you guys on. So go check them out. They got some new content coming out. Thanks for stopping by. We'll do this very soon.